Hello, everybody. This is Olivier Melnick with Shalom and Messiah Ministries. We're back. We have another program today. I'm really excited to be with my friend Tom Hughes. He's so hard to get. So when I can get him, I just take advantage of that. So, Tom, welcome to the show.
Oh man, Olivia, this is so cool to be here with you. And I'm thankful that I get to be here with you today and looking forward to all the things we're going to talk about. So I hope I'm a faithful contributor to all that you're doing.
And I did not even pay him to say that. So, Tom, a couple of brief things I want to tell people because this is a new ministry that I started in beginning of February, and the Lord has blessed us, and through many people like you viewing those videos and connecting with us. So, if you go to shalominmessiah.com, and the link will be in the description, of course, and there will be also a QR code on the video at the beginning, as you see it right now on the left of your screen. You can take the QR code and go straight to Shalom and Messiah, and you can connect with us and check all the different things. We have an app. We have an app for your iPhone where I put all my videos every day and every week, different topics on Israel, end times, anti-Semitism, and Bible prophecy. And also, you can donate to the ministry, and we appreciate all of you who have done that and continue to do that. We couldn't do it without you. So thank you for your donation. Thank you for your partnership for such a time as this. Now, before I forget, because Tom, you and I, we do a lot of those, we always forget. I want to introduce you, Hope for Our Times, but you can do better than me. So where can people find you? Where do they go?
You already said it.
Hope
Hope
for Our
for our
Times?
times. Although people keep saying I'm not bringing very hopeful things, but
Has
but
nothing to do with you.
it has, yeah, you know what? I was talking with somebody this morning. I was going to film at his channel, and they 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 said, we're just going back and forth about exactly some of the things we're going to be talking about today and everything else going on. And I simply said, everybody is expecting the next shoe to drop, and they all know it's going to be bad. Nobody is looking for anything good anymore.
No.
Everybody's on the edge looking for something bad. Listen, the bad is here, so we get to talk about the hope that we do have in Jesus Christ
I'm looking for something good.
and looking for something good. Yeah, because man, we can all see what's going on, and the things we're going to be talking about today are, I believe, the most revealing for the days that we live in, more than anything else.
Yeah. Yeah. So hopeforourtimes.com,
Yes,
and you have an app,
I have an app also by the same name, Hope for Our Times, and
right?
hopeforourtimes.com. So, and if they forget, then it's just my name, Tom Hughes, and they'll eventually find me.
And what is this incredibly good looking DVD you're displaying on your desk?
This is grand, isn't it? This is so cool. So this is a documentary. Everybody,
When did we do this?
we did it. It was like 20. I think it's 2018.
I think so. Yeah, at
It
least.
was pre-COVID. I know that
Oh
for a
yeah, oh no, yeah,
fact.
definitely. Yes.
Yeah. So I think it was probably 2018, maybe. I don't know. It's been a while. 2018, 2017, 2019. It was pre-COVID. That much I know. And it's available by if a downloadable link. It's
Right.
available for anybody. But what it is, I better explain what it is. It is, get this, everybody. I had an opportunity to interview this man named Olivier Melnick. And some of you have probably heard of him. But in the process of the interview, it's a documentary. We went back in the history of the world. We did church history since the first century and walked right on through forward to up to the time when we recorded the DVD, but also projected into what's coming. And now I'm looking at it going, wow, I mean, so many answers to so many questions that people have today. Where did anti-Semitism come from? How did it, how early was it in the church? People will be shocked by that. And then going through the church history and where we are now, and
Yeah, it's about
it's profound.
we did about 2 hours. It was I remember it was about 2 hour long, something like that. On the bottom it says 2 hours or
Yes, there's two different DVDs. It's almost 2 hours total.
yeah. So
Two
so
DVDs.
we had a good time doing it. The topic is no fun, but it was enjoyable being with you and doing that. It's at least 2017, I think. So it's
Okay.
like 7 years
I
ago.
know it's pre-COVID. Now it says, "Will the hatred ever stop?" That was the title you came up with. And what do we see now? Oh no. It was really, when you look at it, it's profound in a sense. However, we also know if you stick with the Bible and you let the Bible give you your proper understanding, you can tell the trajectory. So hence, not only were we able to look at the past and I was able to ask you questions, but we're able to say, where's this going in the future? And because of the Bible, you could say that. And this is actually, you know, I'm going to be honest with you, Olivier. I thought some of the things that we see happening in the world right now, especially with the rise in anti-Semitism, I didn't think it would get this bad until after the rapture.
I say this all the time. I've been a believer for 40 years, and I'm seeing in a short amount of time right now, the curve is going this way. I know it's going like super fast. Everything, every day there's something happening. And a lot of what's happening, I agree with you. I did not think that it would be something that would happen in my lifetime.
Yeah.
It's crazy, and I don't even know where to start. We had like some kind of we had a little bit of an agenda for today, but I want to talk about what's going on in the US, because I have a theory which I've shared with you a little bit, and you told me that you didn't disagree with me, so I want to share that with our audience. But a little bit about Israel. I want to, there's a lot going on with Israel, and of course, closer to us is what's happening in the US. But in Israel, uh, what have you heard from your contacts? From, some of them are the same that I have, but what have you heard about what's going on in the north with Lebanon, with Hezbollah, and in Gaza? Have you heard anything different that I haven't heard? Do you have any breaking news?
I would say I don't have any breaking news. However, we do know that the threat is very real. And from what I do understand, um, everything that happened with Iran against Israel was almost 2 weeks ago now, right? With the drone attacks, it's been about 2 weeks. I can't remember, but and then Israel's response. I've heard that it was actually what's taken place is far worse than any media outlets are portraying. They don't know. The information is not being released, and that's from some pretty credible sources within Israel. So there's some concerns because Israel knows they've got to deal with this monster that is out there that is threatening them. It's a huge problem, but it's 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 just not being delivered to the public that way, and I think it's probably wise not to.
Now, I also heard, I think it was today, maybe yesterday, that Erdogan, the president of Turkey, is severed ties with Israel. Have you heard that? I mean,
No, but I mean, I did
officially.
officially. I say he unofficially did that like a long time ago. Remember the boats, the flotillas? That was like a
Oh my
hundred
gosh,
years
when was
ago,
that? That
sent
was
from
like
Erdogan.
that was 15 years ago.
It was. So I mean, this is how long the Erdogan stuff's been going on. That was courtesy of him,
Yeah,
right?
but he was being vocal about, not supporting Israel in anything anymore. I said it was just
Yeah.
weird. He
So
was
now it's official,
not
right?
official.
Remember
And
the last guy in Turkey that did that a few months back? He fell over and had a heart attack. Remember that?
oh, on that platform,
Yeah.
that was weird.
That was right after he just went after Israel, and all of a sudden, boom, he died.
Well,
So
I wish the Bible would say something about if you bless the Jews, you'll be blessed, and if you curse them, you'll be cursed. Is there a scripture anywhere there for that?
yeah, it seems like I've read that somewhere before. Let me see.
Genesis something?
Remember Johnny Carson Carnac says
Yes.
maybe Genesis chapter 12 verse 3.
Something like that. We're old enough to remember Johnny Carson. That's scary.
And he yeah,
So, um, anyway, that's
and you are older than me. Okay, let's just go on with the
so
program.
okay. So Lebanon, we're just basically like you and I were talking earlier, waiting for the other shoe to drop.
Waiting, that's exactly what we were doing. We were waiting for the other shoe to drop. We all know it's going to drop, and I mean, by the time we're done here, we're going to get into where all of this is eventually going. Israel still has to deal with the Gaza situation. We have the Biden administration putting all kinds of pressure on Israel, saying you better not uh, you better not just deal with Rafa the way this you say you're going to deal with Rafa. We have all of these things going on. So when I look at the Biden administration, you mentioned America in all of this. Pelosi calls for the resignation of Netanyahu. Regardless of what somebody thinks of Netanyahu, this is still coming from Nancy Pelosi. And
Anybody from a different country doesn't have the right to do it anyway. So I don't care if it's Nancy Pelosi or anybody else. This is none of their business.
uh, yeah. So you look at this. Let's see. I've got to find this article. U.S. We're urging Israel to take different steps in Rafah. Of course we are.
Of
You know.
course. Of course.
So
Yeah.
we look at this and you look at all of the ceasefires and you have all these people in the college campuses that are saying there needs to be a ceasefire. Well, guess what? Hamas has never agreed to a ceasefire, but yet Israel's the one that is blamed for all of this. I mean, I'm watching the facts on how many people were killed when the U.S. went after Saddam Hussein. You don't hear about any of that. You don't hear about any of the atrocities going on with Syria, with other Muslims, or with China against the Uyghurs. You don't hear about any of that. No, this is anti-Jew. And Olivier, before he came on this program, I was looking at social media, and this guy on the right that I used to follow just goes after pastors that are Zionists.
Oh, like
and I'm
you?
looking, going, yeah, well, of course, yeah. He probably, if I watched it long enough, he probably have my name in there. But I look at this and just go, this is there's people are clueless. God is the original Zionist.
Absolutely.
Zion is mine. 152 times in the King James Bible, God references Zion and being his and for his people. He's referring to the Jews. And for the Messiah to come back and rule and reign in Zion.
Absolutely, absolutely. So it's so what's scary is now you're seeing it. We've been seeing it from Islam for a while, and we've been seeing it from the left. Now we're seeing it from a side that used to be friendly to Israel. The right, and I'm seeing more and more pastors saying things that are like. You and Brendan and myself and probably others of the guys, we say the same thing. Right now, the final dividing factor in the evangelical church is going to be support of Israel or lack of support of Israel.
It looks that way. So last summer, Pastor Brandon and I were in Mexico. Billy Crone was with us, and the three of us were just talking about
how come I was not invited?
It was in Mexico, and I mean,
I'm just messing with you. You were talking.
Sorry, my Mexican Jewish friend. I'm sorry. Next time.
So you were talking,
but the question came up: what will be the next divider within the church? And Brandon said immediately it's going to be Israel. Something's going to happen in Israel. So that was, I think, July. Then you fast forward from there to October, and look at where we are right now. We are finding any pastor that stands for Israel right now publicly is a minority. We're a very small number. The evangelical community that supports Israel, we're finding out, is smaller. It still seems to be the only genuine support coming from an actual movement from Christianity, but still it's smaller. And I think what it is, it's the peer pressure, just like it was in the days of Nazi Germany. Let's just go along with it. Let's just keep our mouth shut. Let's just do business as usual. I'm not going to get involved in that.
What can one person do?
What can one person do? These people are kind of crazy. Look at them. Definitely Brandon and Tom they're on the fringe. Well, we are kind of crazy. There's no doubt about that. But at the same time, it's understanding, what does the Bible teach? So I believe the Bible, and I live according to what the Bible says when it comes to my doctrine and my life and my theology.
Amen. That's important.
So because something goes wrong in this world doesn't mean I throw out the Bible, which is what a whole lot of pastors have done. Do not pay attention to the Old Testament. Todd Hampson, one of our friends, right?
He's one of the good guys.
One of the good guys. Todd's a great guy. Jeff Kinley was just telling me this earlier today. He said that Todd Hampson uh, did a study on every prophet in the Old Testament, and every single one of them, except for Jonah, referenced Israel returning into the land during the last days. Every one of them except Jonah. We know Jonah was about. So you look at this, but people, and this is a reason why it's a spiritual battle, why pastors avoid Israel, they avoid the Old Testament, they avoid teaching on the second coming of Christ. When pastors say, I don't want to teach Bible prophecy, I think it's because it confronts their theology and it causes you to have to deal with subjects that make you uncomfortable. And they don't want to be uncomfortable. They don't want their people to feel uncomfortable.
Well, they're going to have to answer to God. But in the meantime, we're seeing that it's going to encourage and generate a lot of hatred against the Jewish people. And we're seeing it happening right now. And I mean, I have been teaching against this for 24 years now, and you have no idea, Tom. Well, you do know, yeah, you do have an idea of how much work it is for me to even convince pastors to do and say the right thing. Not people like you and Pastor Brendan and and Billy and other the usual suspects, because you guys get it. But there's so many pastors who I just I don't want to and I don't want to, like you said, I don't want to get involved. What am I going to do? I can't change it. Here's the reality. Here's the biblical truth, okay? Genesis 12:3 does not offer three choices. It offers two: a blessing for those who bless and a curse for those who curse. If you say, hey, I'm not going to get involved, I'm just going to sit on the fence, I'm not going to hurt, but I'm not going to do anything. If you sit on the fence, you're basically becoming a bystander and by proxy, a co-perpetrator. That's the way I look at it. You can only, if you bless, you bless. If you don't bless, you're on the other side, even if you don't do anything.
Absolutely. When you don't make a decision for something, you're making it against something. People want to just be neutral. Well, I'm just not going to really get involved in this. Happened in Nazi Germany, and what happened? Well, really just turning their face away from the atrocities that were taking place in order to continue doing business as usual. Here's something interesting to think about. Now, I know a lot of pastors and have come across many that have been replacement theology. And they'll say, they'll completely eliminate the Old Testament. And yet they will take passages from the Old Testament that they like and say, these apply to me, right? We can hold on to this. A passage with Jeremiah. I know the plans that I have for you for a future and hope. That's not for Israel. That is for me, right? So they'll pick and choose. What's interesting about this is they will completely deny Genesis chapter 12, verse 3. They will mock somebody like me that's a Gentile pastor that proclaims that. Totally mock us. Yet at the same time, they will take the blessing and cursing passage of Deuteronomy chapter 28 and say, but that applies to Israel, the blessing and cursing. I'll bless you if you obey. I'll curse you if you disobey. You'll experience these. They'll say that applies to Israel. Oh, but these blessings and cursings don't apply to me. It's like pick and choose. This is literally what happens. And they don't see any, they don't make any correlation with, maybe I got a problem with the way I interpret the Bible when I just pick and choose, because they don't look at it that way.
Yeah, they do piece work like this. They do pick and choose, and it gets even worse with replacement theology when you have people in the church that say we're the new Israel and we take all the blessings, but the Jews can keep the curses.
Well, okay. That's exactly what takes place. And I've had this conversation with Brandon, had it with Jeff Kinley too. Is that when you look at it, when you look at Israel, and when you understand the Old Testament and the New Testament, we understand Israel is coming back into the land. We understand the prophecies of Jeremiah 33. God is not done with his people, with the people of David. He will show them mercy. He will pour out his blessings upon them. He's going to bring them back into the land. Jeremiah 33 is very clear. So 31. So is the New Testament, Romans chapter 11. Unless the church, unless you're puffed up in your own opinion about Israel, you're ignorant if you get puffed up in your own opinion. God is not done with Israel. And it's Jeremiah and Paul in Romans. holding up saying, no, replacement theology doesn't exist. Now, here's the weird thing is if you're a replacement theology person, you will say God's grace applies to me, even though I'm a sinner. His grace
But
and mercy applies to me.
God's judgment, Israel.
Right. God's grace. No, they don't get God's grace. God is done with Israel. They only get God's judgment. Yet the Bible clearly doesn't teach that. Even Jesus himself said, you will not see me again until you say, in other words, I will come back and you will say, Baruch haba b'shem Adonai. You will say, blessed is he who comes in the name of the Lord. You will say, save us now. You will say, Hosanna. And then you follow that right on through the New Testament. You have this, not just in the Old Testament, you have it in the New Testament. But God's grace, if God, and I believe, this is my opinion, that Israel is being held up against the church, the people who call themselves Christians, as a, be careful how I say this, but as like to judge yourself and to be judged. Is my grace good enough for these people? Because what you say is they run the porn industry, the Jews run Hollywood, the Jews run all of the banks, the Jews are the one who have brought all the problems on this world with pharmaceutical companies. You say how bad they are, therefore grace doesn't apply to them. Well, wait a minute. How do you possibly believe God's grace is good for you? It's like they're being held up as a display. Also, Joel chapter 3 is another perfect description of that. I will gather into the valley of Jehoshaphat all those who seek to divide my land. The people right now that are claiming Israel needs to be divided, and that is coming from the church. Whoa, wait a minute. You got yourself into a really bad camp when God says, I will gather all the nations together into the valley of Jehoshaphat because those who seek to divide my land. There's some huge problems, and Israel is on display right now. What are we going to do with Israel when you do find fault? Do you still stand by them as God has stood by us, as God has sent his son for us?
Yeah, and a lot of people are saying, actually, well, I don't like what the Israeli government is doing, and the state of Israel is a modern state of Israel. It's not the biblical state of the Bible, the biblical people of the Bible. You know what? They're the same people, okay? And the way I look at it is that it's been what, thousands of years, and with everything, and I have documented that. I have hundreds of books. With everything that has been attempted against my people, the fact that we would still exist today should prove two things. Number one, that Israel is here to stay, and number two is that God exists and he keeps his word. Because I mean, the existence of Israel and the Jewish people should be the biggest proof for the existence of God.
I totally agree.
We should not, and I'm not even talking about how smart some Jewish people are. The 22% of the Nobel Prizes are from Jewish people, which is only 0.2% of the global population. We know that those are real numbers, and they're really cool numbers. I'm just talking about, generally speaking,
yeah,
we should not exist.
No, it should not exist. There's only 16 million Jews worldwide, something like that. 16, 17 million Jews.
Right.
And it does not make any sense.
And there's only 16 million, but we are in the way. What are we in the way of? Well, again, I sound like a broken record, Tom, but we are in the way of Satan's final self. He doesn't want to doesn't want to be thrown away. It says in the end of Revelation, he's going to be thrown in a lake of fire for all eternity, not to rule there, but to be in constant torment with no end. He's going to be there. He doesn't want to go there. So, like you said, you quoted Matthew when Yeshua said, "You will not see me again until you say Baruch haba b'shem Adonai, blessed is he who comes in the name of the Lord." Satan wants that to never happen. He wants it. He doesn't want that to happen. You get rid of the Jews, they will never say that. So now we see, like you mentioned, pastors and people from the right, we see people from the left. We see a whole, we can't, let's shift to what's happening in the U.S. We see a whole new a group of students who are now occupying the campuses of various universities in the United States. And honestly, I think I told you at the beginning before we started, I said, you're going to have to rein me in because I'm going to lose it. I am so upset. There was an interview that Greta Van Susteren on Newsmax. She was doing this. There was this girl on I think it's on Columbia campus, and then somebody was they were screaming in the back, final solution, and from the river to the sea, Palestine shall be free. And then this person said, "So you're here protesting?" "Oh, absolutely." "So against what?" She looks at her friend. She goes, "Against what?" And her friend goes, "I don't know." They were like 18-year-old, 20-year-old, two girls in the middle, wearing the Palestinian keffiyeh, wearing the Palestinian flag, the modern Palestinian flag, because the real one has a Star of David. That's for another day. But that's when Palestine meant Israel. But so they were wearing all that, and they were like, "I don't know." Where do we go from here, Tom?
Yeah. Yeah, I watched one where it was two girls. It was a different interview. One of them was from Columbia University, visited whatever college it was with their friend, and they were asking basically, "What is Palestine?" We're not real sure. We're not educated enough to be able to answer that question. And I'm convinced that is the majority of people. They're caught up in this herd mentality, and I believe some of this is funded, and there's evidence, proof that some of this is funded.
Like, for instance, all the tents being the same color, same shape, same size.
Yeah, and they're $500 tents. Believe me, there are one of these kids that are buying any of those tents. There's no way.
And many of those signs are like printed on plastic, like those political signs you put on your lawn. They're like printed, on corrugated plastic. This is not a spontaneous Occupy campus movement. This is founded. I don't know who's funding it, but it's it's really scaring me what I see happening, because and I mentioned that to you a few days ago, Tom, briefly. uh, we can talk about how upset we are about what's happening on campus. We can talk about the fact that some people are funding it, and they're going after they're going after the Jews and the anti-Semitism. But I think something that people are not seeing, I hope I'm wrong, but they're not seeing that what I think is happening right now is that we're seeing the beginning of the reestablishment of the Jewish ghetto. That what happened during the war. Let me for a minute give you a couple of examples, and this will be in an article that I'm just finishing writing today. I'll probably publish tomorrow on my blog at shalomandmessiah.com. My dad was about 16 in 1940, 41 in Paris. The whole family is Jewish. And my dad told me the story. He said, his dad fought the Great War of 1914, 1918 as a French citizen. Happens to be Jewish, and my whole family is Jewish, but he fought as a Frenchman. And he made friends, with soldiers, and after the war, and they would get together. And one of them actually became the chief of police of where he lived, my grandfather on my dad's side. They were good friends. Well, my dad told me that one day it was declared that all the Jews were supposed to bring their bicycles to the police station. And my dad said, "Okay, let's bring the bicycles." "Well, Dad, what do you?" They ask us. They know what they're doing. It's for our own safety. So all the Jews brought their bicycles in Paris, and I'm sure in the other cities in France, they brought their bicycles to the police station. So now all of a sudden, you've got Jewish families. It's early in the war. You've got Jewish families who are stuck at home because they can take the subway as long as they're in the last train and they wear the yellow patch, which is no fun because everybody's like harassing them and it's dangerous. But they could take the subway, but there's curfew, so they're really limited how far they can go without a bicycle. So now they're kind of stuck home. But wait, they can still connect with the outside world because families back in those days had a transistor radio. They would listen to the Allied forces in London and different places, and they would connect with the outside world. And there was a little bit of resistance going on. Well, guess what's the next thing? My grandfather get a message. we need to have all the Jewish people bring their transistor radio to the police station. That was, I don't know if it was a week later or 3 months later, but my dad is retelling the story to me. He said, so his dad is taking this big transistor radio to the police station. And actually, the anecdotal part of it is that when the chief of police saw my grandfather come in from a distance, they were buddies from the war. They used to play cards once a week. He looked at him and he went, he signed, he said, don't come, go away. Don't, keep it, go back home. And I don't know if he did or not. I don't remember that part. But here's the thing. First, you get the Jews to stay home. Then they're really disconnected. They can't go anywhere because of curfews and they have to walk everywhere. Then when they're home, you take the only method they have of connecting, which is the transistor radio. So very few people had the phone back then. So now they're home, they're stuck, they have to go out for food, come back. What's the next step? You put them all on the train and you put them in the same, or you take them on trucks and you put them in the same neighborhood. You say, you know what? Since you're going to stay home, you need to stay in your own community. Well, that has a name, ghetto. Mm-hmm. And I think what's happening right now, where people are saying to the Jewish students, go home for your own safety, quote unquote, go home, stay home. And now we're going to cancel some, it happened today, we're going to cancel some of the graduation. So the schools are saying to the Jews, stay home. This is the beginning. I hope I'm wrong, Tom. What do you have to say?
Well, I think you are right. I'm looking for an article. I'm trying to find it. I can't find it right now. But it is regarding just that comment that they're telling the students to go home. We all saw the professor the other day whose access card was turned off, so he couldn't go through the gate. So we're watching these things develop. And I personally think that you're right. You know, when I look at this, it's all going somewhere. Satan knows what worked last time on a small scale. Germany, East Europe, right?
Not so small, actually.
Well, compared to today.
Compared to today.
Because what is happening today, and I don't think a lot of people are paying attention, obviously you and I are, and Brand some others, but this is global. So you have Israel on the one on the one end is being threatened from entire nations that hate them. We now know China is helping to fund things for Iran. We can see what Russia is doing. So there's entire nations coming against Israel.
But Israel is only half the Jews.
Yeah.
There's the rest of the Jews you have to get after.
Right. Okay. So, yeah. So the ones that aren't yet back in Israel, I'm sure Iran is thinking if we get them all back, then we can eliminate them all. I'm thinking that's what Iran thought. That I think that's what Ahmadinejad used to say, 15 years ago when he was president of Iran, right? So, okay, but what do you do with the rest? Well, just what you're saying, you round them up. It worked before, and you can see this going. This is frightening. So it is only a matter of time, and I think you had mentioned it to me that the police are already saying, hey, it's for your safety. You just need to stay away from campus.
And one more thing that I need to mention, it happened today, and it's going to continue. Some people in that group, and they're not just students, there's people from outside the university, pushing the envelope. They were publishing personal information about Jewish students and Jewish faculty members. So now you send the Jews home, and pretty soon you go like, you know what? You can't stay home anymore. It's not safe for you. They know where you live. Let us put you in a place where you can be safe. Just watch.
Yeah, and then you know what? To keep you safe, we're going to have to put a wall around, a fence around. You guys will appreciate it. It'll keep the terrorists out. It'll keep the problem people out.
We're conspiracy theorists. We're conspiracy theorists.
Well, listen, the reality of it, listen, it is going this way.
It is.
Whether it happens next month or whenever, it is going to go this way. And we can tell the direction it's going to go because of what the Bible does tell us. When the Bible tells us all the world's going to come against Israel, we now know, it's not just presidents and prime ministers. It is the masses of people that are turning against Israel. Absolutely. And there is again, this is a warning and a wake-up call to anybody that claims to be a believer in the Lord Jesus Christ, is check where you are. And by supporting Israel, I'm not saying I agree with everything that's ever been done within the nation of Israel. I'm not
Neither do
agreeing with
I.
every.
I'm Jewish.
Right.
Neither do I.
You know, when you look at back in October 7th, there were some serious questions about that day. Even from people within Israel's own military, there's questions. I was having a conversation with one of my other Jewish friends, Israeli, and he said, "Well, there's no way," and he's kind of upset with me. I made a video with Brandon, right? And he was a little bit upset, and I said, "Are you telling me that Israel doesn't have anybody within their own government that is that that thinks the opposite, that would like the destruction of what they see going on?" I said, every government in the history of the world has have people within their own ranks that have sought to take down the king. It's always happened, and to think it's not happening now would not be wise, because the heart of man is deceitful and wicked. So you're always going to have people who oppose. There's always people who are jealous. There's always people who want to be at the top. And I don't agree with everything Israel does, but I do agree with this. I don't even agree with everything I do, let alone, and I sure don't agree with everything that's coming out of the White House, or where I live in California, what's coming out of, the Northern California area. I don't agree with any of that stuff.
Yeah. No,
But but I'm going to stand with Israel because I understand God's covenant with Israel, and God had to choose somebody, and who he chose Abram. I'm going to start a nation with Abram. He had to choose somebody for a land, for a nation, for the Messiah, for the people. He had to choose a people and a place for the Messiah to come, and he chose Abram, and I am going to stand with the descendants of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, not Abraham and Ishmael in this. And I'm not
well, you got to
wishing
stand with the son of the promise. I mean,
the side of the promise, and I'm not wishing ill upon those who are of
no,
Arab
no, we're
descent.
not. We're
In
not.
fact, I
That's
want them
important
to
to
be
say.
saved. I have a lot of friends over in Israel that are Muslim. I want them to get saved.
Yeah.
I just
Amen.
saw some a few weeks ago. I look forward to my next time going back, seeing some of them again. I have pictures of them in my phone. I have their names. I have their WhatsApp number. We communicate. I want them to know Jesus Christ. So it's not about us or them. It's like Joshua wrestling with the Lord. Are you for me or against me? No answer, right? Which side are you on? Which side are you on? The angel of the Lord. Which side are you on? It wasn't answered. Listen, I am pro-Israel because I'm pro-God. And I understand God's covenant with the people of Israel, and therefore I will stand with Israel. And that is the problem. People don't have a genuine understanding of God's word that go to church.
I think it was Fruchtenbaum. I couldn't agree more with you. I think it was Arnold Fruchtenbaum who said years ago that Genesis 12:3 is God's foreign policy when it comes to Israel. It
Great
is.
statement.
It's perfect. It's profound because how you deal with Israel in Genesis 12:3. And now I was wondering if you had an opinion on that. You're not without opinions. I know that. So I'm looking at all this younger generation, clueless about what's happening, but they're just protesting. How much do you think is caused by DEI?
DEI, huh?
I mean, they're looking at the Palestinians being, the underdog, and
Yeah.
what to
So,
talk about.
okay. So I presented this on Prophecy Watchers. Gary Stearman was interviewing me a while back.
Oh,
And
I never watch any of your videos.
that's no, listen, I'm on something like every day. So I can't even watch all my videos.
I'm
So,
joking.
yeah, no, seriously. So in my new book, I talk about social justice, right? And this is really the DEI thing of social justice warriors. We have created, especially in colleges, social justice warriors. But it didn't start with the Palestinian cause. It started a long time ago. Then it became racism. And then it was all, oh, these poor people over here. So this mentality, that was already developed, and critical thinking was already, it's been eliminated, right? Within schools. So you eliminate genuine critical thinking, and you bring in social justice, which is just DEI is
Right,
just more refined
right.
social justice warriors. And so everybody is taught you need to be a social justice warrior. What do? Well, you stand up for the little guy, right? So, and the guy who's oppressed. So what the Marxists have been able to do is portray Israel as being this big, bad, massive gorilla. Of course, people never look at a map and see the truth. A
Right.
big, bad, massive gorilla, and they are causing all this harm and suffering on, well, they'll say the entire Islamic world but they don't even think through things. But then Palestinians are portrayed as this oppressed people. So what do you do if you're a social justice warrior? I'm standing up for these poor, oppressed people. They don't know.
No.
They're clueless that, no, they're oppressed by Hamas. The best thing that can happen is the people can be freed by Israel. And we're seeing interviews by Islamic people, the son of Hamas and others that are saying, hey, we need Israel to free the people from Hamas.
Yeah.
But
Absolutely.
they don't hear that. So DEI, I believe, is refined social justice, and it is what is underlying. It's been the motivator, the psychological motivator to get people involved, and we have an entire generation of young people that have been trained to do just that, and it's taken years, but they've arrived.
And we can say, I think I'm comfortable with that statement. We can say that DEI and social justice are being basically moved and used by Satan. He's using people through those channels to fulfill his agenda. Because there's now social justice in and of itself is not a bad concept. I mean, hey, your Bible has a lot of examples of social justice. Okay, Jesus took care of the people, and then he was a fair, he was very fair. But the way they've switched it and the way they paint the picture of Israel being the like you said, the gorilla, and or the monster against the poor Palestinians. The problem, it started several decades ago when the young adults, they're not learning anything in university anymore. They're completely, all they're learning is I saw a cartoon the other day, in this teacher was in front of the blackboard and said free Palestine, and one of the students said, but this is chemistry.
Yeah,
This is
yeah,
chemistry
no
class.
kidding. Yeah,
It's like it doesn't matter.
yeah, no, it doesn't matter. Eh,
It's
So,
anyway.
so okay, so yeah, okay, so social justice is in the Bible, right? Rightly understood. But
Properly in
also we have
through a biblical lens,
right,
yes.
but we also have a very clear picture in the Bible of when social justice is actually used to manipulate the people. And I'll show you where it is. It's in the Gospel of John, chapter 12. And what's happening is Mary takes her costly perfume, and it's a year's wage of it's a year's worth of 300 denarii, a year's wage worth of perfume, and she anoints Jesus with her
Right,
costly perfume.
right.
Judas says, what a waste. This could have been sold and given to the poor. He is the social justice leader, Judas, right? But then John goes on and says, he said this not because he actually cared for the poor, but because he was a thief and used to take the money out of the bag. That's the reality of it. They don't care
No,
about these people.
no.
In Revelation chapter 17, when you have the woman who rides the beast, the religious system at the end, the 10 kings eliminate her because they just use her. They know she's worthless. They've used whatever they manufactured to get the hearts of the people. They just need to win them over emotionally, win them over, and then they discard her because they know she's a fraud. Judas is called the son of perdition. So when you see that, he is the leader of social justice and he is a liar. And these people who are behind this, they do this not because they care for the poor, but
No,
because they are thieves. And get this, with the last thing, and then I'll stop talking, I promise, almost.
please
So
don't.
with the freeways that were shut down last week by the protesters, check this out. This article, Act Blue fundraiser says contributions, they came from a project of the Soros-funded Tide Center.
Shocking.
What a shock. Soros, the Jew who sold out Jews and has been selling out Jews since the time of Hitler.
Yeah,
Horrible.
he's a
Horrible. It's
disgrace.
not that he doesn't care. These people don't care. They're thieves.
Yeah,
Okay, sorry about that.
absolutely. No, I
That was
mean,
my
and
rant.
that John passage is the best way to explain. You're right, social justice. The abuse of the concept, because the concept is there's a lot of merit to social justice if it's done right. But in the case of the perfume and Judas, that's a perfect example. So we need to wrap this up. But what do we tell? We do a show like this, you and I, and we do it with all kinds of people. We have this. I'm upset, I'm frustrated, and it shows. I'm angry. But at the same time, I know that my God is bigger than all this, and I know that Jesus is coming back. I have this hope. Okay, I have this hope that I know where I'm going. I know the end of the story, and so the people watching you on your channel and watching me and all the rest of the guys, they're usually, they're for the most part, they're believers, and they have that hope. But we know where we're going. In the meantime, until Jesus comes back, until Yeshua returns, we have to stay busy and do the right thing. And doing the right thing is being on God's side. And as we've said this, you and me both during the show, being on God's side is being on the side of Israel. Being on God's side is being on the side of the Jews. Not agreeing with everything they do all the time. I never do. You don't either. That would be blindness. That would be blinded allegiance, which is, it doesn't make any sense. But being on God's side is being on the side of Israel and the Jews. So what do we do in the meantime? Well, Tom, because I've talked about it, and I need to say this again. I am connected also with a network that we refer to it as the Underground Railroad for Jews. And if any of you listening are interested in helping us for such a time as this, to be ready to every day I say this, every day I offer this, I'm seeing like there's more of a need today than there was yesterday, and there'll probably be more of a need tomorrow. Go to shalomandmessiah.com, click the top right connect button, and you can get my my prayer letter. You can get my daily devotional. You can get my videos. There's also a place towards the bottom when you can connect with the network that I just mentioned. And we don't advertise it outside of that. We don't raise money. The network doesn't raise money. The ministry that I started, we need to pay the bills so we can volunteer for the network. But that network will never send you anything because there's nothing printed. It's like-minded Christians who are preparing to open their homes to receive Jewish people, to protect them, to rescue them, to provide for them for a day, for a night, for a week, for a month. When people did that during the war, during the time of my grandfather and my mother, who hid on a farm in the southwest of France after her dad was taken to Auschwitz, when they did it, when they said, I'll take that family, I'll take those two people, they had no idea when they said yes if it was for one day or 3 months. They just did it because it was the right thing to do. And they became known as the righteous among the nations, according to Yad Vashem in Jerusalem. And I'm talking to you right now. You can become one of the new righteous among the nations, and you can prepare to be ready. Be ready to rescue your Jewish friends. I just wanted to mention that. Go to Shalom and Messiah, connect, and ask information about the network. And there is a vetting process that you'll go through, but we want you to be a part of this if this is something that the Lord is putting on your heart. So, Tom, I know that you know about this network. You've been involved with it for a couple of years now. And thank you for that. Final words.
Well, I just want to reiterate everything that you just said from this perspective is if we are not raptured really soon, every person watching this right now, it's just a matter of time before we're going to be tested in the way that you just said to coming alongside our Jewish friends. I see it only increasing. And actually just doing this program with you, Olivier, it reminds me friends I've talked to you about that some of my Jewish friends. I have some that I'm close to. I see all the time. I talk to, we keep in touch. You, David Tao, some others, Dan Cohen. There's others, right? But there's some where I need to reach out to them. They don't believe in Jesus yet, and they've been friends, and I really need to reach out to them. In fact, that's what I'm going to do when I leave here. I'm going to send them notes because they need to know. And I'm looking. I can think specifically. I go to the areas of Los Angeles down by the Fairfax district.
Fairfax, yeah.
You look at that. For me, Olivier, if I was Jewish, I would be concerned about having my kippah on and walking down the street of a big city. I don't know if you're starting to feel that way in Texas or not, but
well, Texas is a little safer, although there was some crazy activity in Austin at the University of Texas.
There was.
But Austin is a microcosm of it's a mini California
it's the mini California
in Texas.
Yeah, so, unfortunately.
But no, and as you're watching this video, listen to Pastor Tom. This is what you need to do. Is your neighbor Jewish? Is your coworker Jewish? They need to know that there are still some Christians who would actually do anything to protect Jewish people. If that's you, talk to your neighbor. Talk to your coworker.
Yeah, and now's the time to get to know them, because and they need to get to know you. And I mean, things are going to get harder and harder and harder. You need to know who you can trust and who can trust you, and you do it now, because it's going to be much harder to do this later. You want to be proactive. And again, if we're not raptured soon, we are watching this. We're watching this train go down the tracks, folks, and it's coming.
Absolutely. Well, Tom, thank you for being on the show. Now, if we're raptured, will they take the younger or the older first?
Well, they're going to take the ones who are only 2 days apart in birth first. Hey, that's you and me.
That's you and me. Anyway, well, I am looking forward to the rapture if I get to experience it in my lifetime. I know where I'm going. If you don't know where you're going, if you need a personal relationship with Yeshua, with Jesus, there's no secret recipe, secret formula. You don't have to join a church. You don't have to donate to any ministry. You don't have to click like or anywhere. You just have to talk to God and say, I know I'm a sinner. I know I cannot be reconciled to you, but only through the blood of Yeshua, Jesus, who died for my sins. If you just say to God that you're a sinner, you're separated from him, and you want Yeshua, Jesus, to become your savior, you become a child of God. And it's that simple. If you have not done that, I really, really recommend you do it soon, because once we're raptured, things are going to get a lot crazier. If you can think it can get crazier than now, during the 7-year tribulation, it's not going to be pretty. Now is the time to come to Yeshua. So thank you for watching the show. Tom, until next time, God bless you and shalom.
Shalom.